Okay, welcome to this presentation on fostering online engagement. It's really about the potential when we're working online to make sure that we're focusing on engagement as well as making content available. So for our communities of practice, it's really about thinking, how do we go about that? So how do we optimize the chance for engagement and reach the sort of things that we're looking for? So let's kick it off. So the first thing to do is to really focus on what we have in mind. So what are we really trying to achieve? So in order to optimize online engagement and foster it, we really got to identify our clear engagement goals. So what are we about? What do we want to achieve? And then we can relate what our online work is against those particular goals. So number one, think about what we're trying to achieve with fostering online engagement, and then we can focus on that. And importantly, for communities in practice, that will relate to about what the overall vision or mission is for the community of practice. So you'll have the goals, but you'll have what you're really about within your scope of work. And so fostering online engagement is why. Why are we fostering online engagement? And this will tell you the why. Once that's clear to you, then it really comes down to the value proposition. So for extensionAUS more broadly, excuse me, the value proposition is timely, relevant, trusted, easily accessible, peer-reviewed, and valuable content that is with a platform, the tools that we can help you with, engaging, interactive, entertaining content. And that doesn't necessarily mean, content that gives you a laugh necessarily. I know there's anything wrong with that, but it's more about that the engagement process is enjoyable. So enjoyment is one of the keys to leading to optimizing and fostering your online engagement. So let's get down to the weeds a little bit. So search engine optimization, SEO. So number one thing for people to focus on when they're publishing content online is to think about your keywords and key phrases, because that is what drives online engagement. So essentially, they're the words and phrases searchers, so users, are likely to enter into search engines to discover your content. So by predicting those and then also monitoring them over time, you can have content that is tailored or tuned to what your people are looking for. So when they search, your content's more likely to be discoverable and you'll foster that online engagement. So let's give an example. So this is from the Fish Research and Development Corporation's Community of Practice. It's an article about Tom's fish eye. It's still draft, so it's not published, but it's obviously about Tom's fish eye. And you can see in this piece of work that Tom's fish eye is listed quite frequently in the content. The content is short and focused, and if you're looking at key phrases, then bycatch reduction is probably a key phrase. So Tom's fish eye is about minimizing bycatch reduction. And so users or targeted people for this content are likely to be searching for bycatch reduction or Tom's fish eye, or perhaps other phrases or keywords. But that's an example for you, a real life example, if you like. Within the platform, or many platforms, but certainly with the extensionAUS platform, we can customize our key phrases. So you can write a key phrase, which means that will be the one that's displayed on the search engines. So when people have a hit on your site, when they search and it comes up high and they're scanning down to see what it's about, that first few lines will be the focus key phrase. So it will generate its own, or you can actually write your own. So that's keywords and focus phrases. So make sure that you are consistent and use those throughout the content. Now, linking, link wherever you can. This is a really key point. So you're going to foster online engagement through making sure your linking is committed to and you're doing it very effectively. but also it's really valuable in creating learning journeys. And we'll explain that shortly. So here's the tips. Link to everything possible in your post. Link to and from your posts. So know your own popular posts on your site and leverage them. And then encourage linking to your posts from other sites. So within your platform site, you will have popular posts, and 90% of your visitation won't come through your homepage. For most communities of practice, it will come through a post. So they've arrived for a piece of content. So it's now your challenge to A, make that content as important and valuable as possible. So foster that online engagement through that post, but also link them through to what else is available on your site, but also then linking them through on what we're calling a learning journey. Encouraging linking to your posts from other sites, that will lift you up in the search engines. So you'll be seen as valuable content and also a window into and out of sites. And so that, again, will lift you up in the search engines. And remember, this could be from other extensionAUS sites also. So look at your peers on the site and look to see if there's any content that you could link to of theirs, and also vice versa, and work on that together. Remember, as you hyperlink, click on that gear wheel when you're doing that and tick the box open, link in a new tab. Because remember, otherwise you'll direct them away from your page and they won't necessarily come back. So let's look at this in a real world example. We'll go back to that Tom's Fisheye example. So the green circles relate to content that they've linked. So you can see that they've linked to whole sentences. So that will help the search engines with that key phrase and keywords. They've linked their headings, which again is really useful. The opportunity they have in this draft article is to link Tom's Fisheye, being a keyword, to a learning journey, and also the key phrase bycatch reduction. And also any entities or organisations that are involved. So again, linking to the Northern Prawn Fishery and linking to the Queensland East Coast otter trawl fishery as an example. So link to whatever you can, because one, it'll push up in the search engines. Two, it will give value to others, like those two organisations. So they will get a notification that they've been linked to. So they're more likely to link back to you. And then also when you link on Tom's Fisheye, you'll start a learning journey as an example. And as I say, we'll speak to that in a minute. And here's an example of how valuable and how important links can be. So the useful references down here is linked through to this, which I imagine must be a key piece of information and research and value that this community practice wants to get out there. And so with a short introductory article that's pithy and very targeted, and then with an effective link, they've connected people, users, community of interest with this really important piece of information. Okay, we'll come back to learning journeys in the next little section after this one. The next point you want to make is don't copy, or we could call it copy wisely. So copy with focus. And why is this? So we want to limit duplicate content, so content that's elsewhere on the web. And why is that? Well, search engines like Google don't know who's to rank higher and will select one, and they place a value on that unique content. So if you've duplicated content, they will recognize that, they'll push you down, and they'll push the original source up, or it could potentially devalue the original source. So if we look at the Google guide, it says create fresh, unique content, avoid rehashing or copying existing content that will bring little extra value to users. So avoid having duplicates or near duplicates of your content across your site. So that's content and duplication. It doesn't mean we shouldn't search for useful content, because we can flip this. We can write articles that don't duplicate content, but rather link to and promote existing content. And then that will actually push you up in the search engines and also make your posts and your publications more valuable. So don't think of it as negative. Think about how can we make this a positive which is by discovering that really useful content and then linking to it. So in summary, before writing your content, think about what your search terms are likely to be, and then specify your key phrases and keywords, and then ensure your headings and subheadings are unique, engaging, and help attract and retain users, but use those keywords in them, or a phrase if that's particularly relevant. But keep them brief and where appropriate, link them. Include the key phrases and keywords in crucial elements of your post, such as the title, introduction, your subheadings, and in your meta description. But ensure you don't copy or make sure you use content that's unique, not a copy of somewhere else on the net. Well-structured, engaging, and easy to read. Meta description and key phrase use. So it's essentially that 155 character of tag code, which HTML, which summarizes a page's content. Search engines show the meta description in the search results. So when you search for something, up it pops. And mostly when the search for phrase is within the description. So optimizing the meta description is a crucial way for on-page search engine optimization. Use those key phrases and words, as I've emphasized before, but still make sure that you write the content for users, not for the search engines. So don't detract from the effectiveness of your post just in order to try and optimize search engines. And just make sure that it's a win-win, not one at the expense of the other. And in the back end of the platform, when you're doing your post, you'll see this box that comes up like this, and this is where you can write in your own meta description. One key tip is as you make changes, don't forget to use the save draft and preview as you go. You can use a block quote button to highlight and help lift out that key text that might be linked to. But essentially, make sure you go backwards and forwards and ensure that it's presenting as you would like as you link and use those keywords and key phrases. Now, here's another key area to reflect upon: interactivity. Interactivity fosters online engagement. So in our context, we can use pop-ups. So the tools in extensionAUS, one of those is a pop-up. What this does is get users' attention. It makes them focus on something. So if we land on a website, there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a whole range of different content. There's a lot to look at. By popping up or putting a pop-up in, we actually take that, that vision from taking it all in and get them to focus and consider something. So that's pop-ups. Ask an expert. So that's where the communities of practice and community of interest, the user, can communicate together. So that's quite clear. People can ask questions and they'll go through the questions and answers and frequently ask questions. But just remember, this is also about building user-generated content. So user-generated content is really valuable, not just for the content itself, because it'll give you content ideas and it'll build on content that they're asking questions about, so help you modify it and improve it. But also, user-generated content shows that there's a community and interaction going on. It values the contribution, so people are acknowledged for interacting with you, and it creates a community or a culture whereby it's okay to interact. So it builds trust. So a very powerful piece of fostering online engagement. Quizzes versus surveys. So just reflect on this point. So surveys help you learn about them. Quizzes help them learn about themselves. This is the users or community of interest. But as a result, you also learn about them. And then how can we do quizzes? We can do within polls, so short surveys or quizzes, and we can place them in a pop-up. There's poll tools for use on the platform. And then importantly, all of these tools, as I was talking about before with the phrases and the linking, particularly the linking, it creates learning journeys. And this is a new community of practice, and this is an example of how you create a learning journey through linking. So this is on the home page. So obviously if they land on a piece of content on this site, which is most likely the case, so they won't discover this site on the home page. They'll come through via a piece of content. You've got to make sure you direct them back to the home page. Once they're at the home page, or this could be embedded within each article, you've got to start here and then an article that explains what's the value, what's this about. Then each of these buttons is a resource tab. So it's a piece of content in its own right, which can be interacted with, but it's also a knowledge flow. So it's an information flow. So it's a learning journey. And then importantly, they've embedded a video that explains a whole box and dice in a short period of time. So videos can transfer a lot of information and knowledge in a short period of time, and it breaks up your content. And it's another way of people learning and then going on to learn from where they're directed to next. So video, video, video. Can't emphasize it enough. So use short videos in your content. And that's a link to a fabulous resource that was developed by Julie White when extensionAUS first started, but still is equally relevant today. And then, so that's really about doing short 2 or 3 minute videos with one take. They don't have to be polished because, fully polished videos that are a bit too schmick can lose authenticity. So don't be scared that, to publish something that's not 100% glossy, but if the content's valuable, the presenter's valuable, it will deliver value. Videos, videos, videos also means search for, curate. So, look at the relevance of it to your target audience, your community of interest, and link to it using, link to that existing video content and place that link within your posts. So make them come to life. It might be an author of an article and you've linked through to a video of that author that helps explain their work in the industry more, or it could be some specific content about the focus for your post. So videos, 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 make sure you consider and use videos. Now let's talk about the Yoast search engine optimization tool or plugin. So Dennis has set that up in all the sites. So you have that in your back end in where you develop your posts. And essentially what it does, it improves your site's rankings on search engines. So these are the functionality pieces of it. So you can put in that key phrase. So you can draft up your own key phrase, make it very focused and relevant. It'll give you analysis results. Now, so in this case, as an example, it's saying the paragraph length is good, the sentence length is great, but it's just saying have a look at subheadings because there's 2 sections of the post that have more than 300 words and doesn't need to be better separated with subheadings to improve readability and so forth. Just remember, this is reasonably generic. And so, for instance, if you're writing for a very a technical audience, so a team of experts that know all the jargon and all the abbreviations and acronyms, then it won't rate very highly on this test. But as long as you've got the stories behind your text, so you look at your red dots and your orange dots and say, oh, okay, no, that makes sense, but the reason, there's a good explanation as to why it's failed, the Yoast readability, well, that's all well and good, but it's just a handy check for you to use. You can review the search appearance. So this is essentially how you appear in a search results. You can do it from a mobile phone or you can do it as a desktop. So you can reflect on how does it look. You can play around with the title and just see how it rates in terms of its search engine optimization potential. The slug. So this is actually the title of this draft article, but the slug is a keyword tool within WordPress. So essentially you can customize this and play around with it because that gives keywords that WordPress makes available to the search engines and helps with search engine optimization. And then you've got the meta description that we've mentioned before, but you can write a tailored meta description. Okay, that's the Yoast SEO. So if you wish any assistance with that, please contact myself and I'll get Dennis involved if I have to. But yeah, if you want to try and make the most of Yoast and you need some help, don't hesitate to contact us. Okay, next thing. So refresh your content. The more content is refreshed, the more search engines come to your page. And it could be just as simple as sorry about that. Rule number 1, don't have your phone on when you're doing a presentation. So it could be quite as simple as changing the date on the WordPress pages to say, changing your publishing location, or it could be changing links or obviously refreshing it into more detail with some more text. Expand and enhance your learning network. So what this is really about is good content will engage and encourage others to, and in doing so, encourage others to share. So invite people to share your valuable content. So if you consistently ask as part of your posts, you will get a percentage of people that start sharing. It may start small, but you will start a culture of it. But it won't happen unless you ask, unless you invite. And I put this one in bold all around because being a good community leader. So this is about being a community person. So acknowledge, thank, invite, showcase your experts, others, other content, leverage, introduce at every opportunity. So just have that lens and then it'll be reciprocated. So there's a saying in the social media world, you've got to be social to be social. And it applies also in our community of practice and publishing world where we're wanting to foster engagement. So if we're engaging, others will be engaging back. So think of that lens. Now, extensionAUS does things for you. So it's got navigation, it's got structures, it's got the reputation of the site overall. So the analytics of the site actually flow onto your own community practice. So together we can achieve more. And so the more we lift each other up in the search engine and make our content discoverable, the more we all benefit. And Yoast, as we've explained. Another thing to think about is the other ways that we engage with people and what we might do to leverage that over time. So whether it be webcast, podcast, live casting, whatever it might be. So there's these 3 key areas. So make sure they're relevant, engaging, entertaining, so enjoyable, and make sure they deliver value. So you've got that value proposition very, very clear. Then the way they're delivered, make sure the participants feel like they're personally connected, so that they are part of the audience and they're clearly recognised as being, this is for them. You've made it right for them. And then, of course, make sure they have a point of difference, that those points of difference will be valued and it's very clear what the value proposition is because it stands out. Then that sort of content can be sliced and diced or linked to or whatever it might be. So think about you've delivered that particular piece of content, and then the next step is before and after to think about how else that can be used. Which also flows on to monitoring and evaluation. So extensionAUS now has a fabulous extension framework, which is going to be rolled out with each community of practice one-on-one. And a piece of this monitoring and evaluation framework can be about online engagement, how well it's going, are you fostering it, what's happening with it. So this can be part of the monitoring and evaluation as part of the overall plan. And then importantly, because the monitoring and evaluation plan is outcome focused, it's looking at what you're trying to achieve. extensionAUS can help you set up your focus analytics that not only says, well, how's engagement going, but it can relate to how you're going on achieving those outcomes that you've set. So we are producing a guide on, we actually have a guide, but it's been redrafted. So There'll be a new version of the guide about fostering online engagement. And of course, if you have some specific stuff or any of the extensionAUS team can be of help, contact Dennis, myself, or Ruth, and we're always here to help you. Otherwise, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I can only wish for very effective fostering of online engagement into the future. All the best, everyone.